Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Jody O'Donnell Ames, and I'm an ALS advocate, speaker, and volunteer. On behalf of myself and Tanabe Pharma America, who are sponsoring this discussion, I'm thrilled to have you here with us to share in today's presentation of personal information and insights that we hope will help guide you as you navigate your own journey with ALS. So welcome, everyone. During the next hour, we'll hear from two members of the community who are living with ALS, Deb Winters and Stephanie Cantos, amazing women. They will be sharing invaluable information learned from their own personal journeys, from diagnosis to treatment to what life looks like today. They'll provide their perspectives on what they wish they had known or done early on. Remember, these are personal experiences and should not be considered medical advice. Please talk to your doctor before making any treatment decisions. So throughout this presentation, we encourage you to submit any questions you may have. Please note that we won't be able to answer medical questions, so please keep your questions limited to topics that pertain to this personal experience of our panelists. If you're viewing on a desktop, you can enter a question at any time in the black box on your screen. On mobile, simply click the question mark icon at the bottom of your screen. At the end of this presentation, we'll do our best to address as many questions as we can about the information presented here. You'll also find some educational resources listed on your screen that I'll encourage you to download to learn more about RADICAVA ORS, edaravone. And finally, you can also use the reaction feature to show your support for the speakers throughout today's presentation. So first, a few disclosures regarding our discussion. So please bear with me. As mentioned, today's webinar is being sponsored by TPA, and the speakers, including myself, are being compensated for presenting on their behalf. Today's presentation includes information about RADICAVA ORS, and that information is consistent with the approved product label. When we speak about experiences with RADICAVA ORS, it's important to note that it's from our own personal experiences, and that experience may vary for everyone. The medications RADICAVA and RADICAVA ORS are indicated for the treatment of ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. It is contraindicated in patients with a history of hypersensitivity to edaravone or any of the inactive ingredients of this product. Hypersensitivity reactions and anaphylactic reactions have occurred. There is some safety information we want to make clear, so I'm going to read through it for the audience. Do not receive RADICAVA ORS if you are allergic to edaravone or any of the ingredients in RADICAVA ORS. Before you take RADICAVA ORS, tell your healthcare provider about all of your medical conditions, including if you have asthma, are allergic to other medicines, are pregnant or plan to be pregnant. It's not known if RADICAVA ORS will harm your unborn baby. If you plan on breastfeeding or you are breastfeeding, it's not known if RADICAVA ORS passes into your breast milk, so you want to discuss that with your healthcare provider. Tell your healthcare provider about all of the medications you take, including prescriptions, over-the-counter medicines, vitamins, and herbal supplements. What are the possible side effects of RADICAVA ORS? Well, they may cause serious side effects, including hypersensitivity, allergic reactions, and sulfite allergic reactions. Hypersensitivity reactions have happened in people taking RADICAVA ORS and can happen after your medicine has been given. RADICAVA ORS contains sodium bisulfite, a sulfite that may cause a type of allergic reaction that can be serious and life-threatening. Sodium bisulfite can also cause a type of allergic reaction less severe, a little bit less severe in asthma episodes in certain people. Actually, it's sodium bisulfite, mouthful, can also cause less severe asthma episodes in certain people. Sulfite sensitivity can happen more often in people who have asthma than those who don't. Tell your healthcare provider right away or go to the nearest emergency room if you have any of the following symptoms: hives, swelling of the lips, tongue, or face, fainting, breathing problems, wheezing, trouble swallowing, dizziness, itching, or asthma attack in people with asthma. Your healthcare provider will monitor your treatment to watch for signs and symptoms of all the serious side effects and allergic reactions. The most common side effect include bruising, problems walking, and headache. And these are not all of the possible side effects of RADICAVA ORS, so call your doctor for medical advice about side effects, or you may report side effects to the FDA at 1-800-FDA-1088. You may also report side effects to www.fda.gov/medwatch or to Nabi Pharma America at 1-888-292-0058. And you can see full prescribing information and patient information at radicavaors.com. Any medical questions, we're almost done, you may have about RADICAVA should be directed to the TPA Medical Information Call Center at the number listed here, or you can visit radicavaors.com for additional product information. To report suspected adverse reactions, you can contact TPA directly or reach out to the FDA. Please contact your doctor about all treatment-related questions. Wow, you did it. We got through. So, all right, let's jump into the conversation. And again, on behalf of TPA, thank you for joining us today. So, introductions. I'd love to start with you, Deb. Can you share a little bit about who you are and why you're here today?
Thank you. Yes, I would love to. My name is Deb Winters. I'm originally from a small town in Pennsylvania, Perkiomenville, to be exact. After living in both Colorado and Kentucky, I eventually settled down here in West Virginia after receiving my seminary degree. My husband, Howard, and I have a large family that when we combine, we have 6 kids plus grandchildren. In my spare time, I love to read and to cook, and I especially love to travel. One thing about me and why I'm here today is that regardless of the path that life has taken me down over the years, I have been involved in the community of what's going on in my life at that time. So when it came to my ALS diagnosis, I decided to get involved and do what I can to help make a difference in this community.
Well, thank you so much for wanting to make a difference and for sharing your experience. And Stephanie, how about you? Can you share a little bit about who you are and why you've joined us today?
Gosh, of course. So, hi everyone, my name is Stephanie Cantos. I'm 38 years old and I live in Rochester, New York. I was diagnosed with ALS in October of 2023. Prior to my diagnosis, I was an orthopedic physical therapist and was very active. In my spare time, I was actively involved in flying trapeze and also took adult gymnastics classes. I also married. My husband, Andrew, is wonderful. And I also have a young daughter, Maddie, who's 5, which I'm pretty sure everybody probably saw on camera because she decided to just come on in. For me, I really want to be a strong advocate. I especially love the idea of being here today to help those who may be going through the earlier phase of their ALS journey or our care partners supporting someone living with ALS. Also, hi, Deb. I'm very thankful that you're here today, too, and taking part in this with me.
Stephanie, it's great to meet you. I'm pleased to be here with you.
I have to share that it is such an honor to have this chance to talk to both of you. You're such courageous and incredible women. So thank you for being with us today, for sharing your perspectives. So my first question has to do with getting your ALS diagnosis. Can you walk us through that experience from the beginning? So Deb, what were the symptoms that made you decide to see your doctor, and how did you ultimately receive your diagnosis?
For me, I was having trouble with my right arm. And of course, that is my dominant arm. I couldn't raise my arm, my hand over my head. Specifically with my hand, the weakness wouldn't allow me to turn a doorknob to get in and out of the house. That was incredibly frustrating. Originally, my doctor said that it was a shoulder problem. I had no rotator cuff and I needed a total shoulder replacement. I had the total reverse shoulder replacement in September and immediately started PT. By the end of the year, my PT was working. I was doing pretty darn good, and I thought, yippee. And then in January, my physical therapist noticed that I was still having difficulty, but the difficulty was in different things. By March, it was clear that something else was going on. So I went back to my first doctor, and he ordered an EMG test. Those results were abnormal, which meant I went to see the neurosurgeon. After that doctor thought I perhaps had cancer, I met with a neurologist who had done his fellowship in neuromuscular degenerative diseases, exactly the person I needed to see. We started doing tests. I tried intravenous immunoglobulin. IVG is what it's called. That's so much easier to say. I did IVG therapy for a while, but that didn't seem to make any difference. After confirming that the IVIG therapy was not improving my symptoms, I was diagnosed with ALS by my neurologist here in Huntington, West Virginia. 2 weeks later, a second opinion at Cleveland Clinic confirmed the diagnosis. Altogether, it took just over a year to get my diagnosis. How about you, Stephanie? Did you get yours any faster?
Nope. Honestly, just like you, Deb, it took me about a year to get my diagnosis. I first noticed something wasn't right in May of 2022. I was in an adult gymnastics class and I was doing a skill that involved me supporting all of my weight on my hands. And my arms just collapsed underneath me, which I thought was very, very strange. I was also noticing doing things like shifting my body around to brush my daughter's hair was getting hard. And my balance was absolutely terrible. Like if I squatted down, I would just kind of tip backwards, kind of like a weeble wobble, but I would fall down. On top of that, I was getting hand cramps and other muscle cramps when I was demonstrating certain exercises at work. So I also saw a neurologist. At first, he really wasn't too concerned. He thought the cramping might just be for my muscles being exhausted or dehydration. So he told me to increase my water intake, but to message him if things got worse, which I did because eventually things got worse. So he brought me back in around August of 2023, and he was shocked by the difference. He ordered a cervical MRI for me, which, as you may know, gives you detailed images of your neck and upper spine. And those came back clean, which is no surprise to me. He sent me to a neuromuscular specialist. I saw them in October, and I gave him the whole spiel of what was happening. Then I was also starting to have some issues with my right leg. They did an EMG, and they said ALS was most likely the cause. That was absolutely devastating because ALS had never crossed my mind. My husband and I decided to go to Mass General Hospital to get a second opinion, but after another EMG, it was confirmed.
That sounds like you had quite the journey too. We call those tip overs at our house. They're not really falls, they're just tip overs.
Yeah, today's controlled descent, you know.
Thank you for your honesty. When it comes to your experience with a diagnosis, I really appreciate that. It took my late husband, Kevin, a year to get diagnosed as well. So I can appreciate all that you experienced. We recognize how difficult a situation it is. So since then, how have you and your doctor worked together to manage your ALS and any progression you may have?
Well, when it comes to talking to my doctors, I do my homework. And that way I can walk in prepared, but also he is prepared for what I'm walking in with. So a day or two before my appointment, I send my doctor an email with my list of questions and concerns so that by the time I have an appointment, we're both ready to talk about it.
Yeah, it's so hard to remember everything. So sending questions in advance so you don't forget to ask is a great strategy, and it's a great suggestion. So on the topic of progression, I want to talk a little bit about the ALS FRS-R scale. Mouthful. For our audience who may not be familiar, the ALS functional rating scale is used to measure points. So it's used to measure physical function for those who live with ALS by using points. Loss of function means loss of points. And the maximum score of 48 points on the scale is what you can have. So Deb, is this something you're familiar with? And do you and your doctor refer to this scale during your conversations and your checkups?
I am very familiar with the ALS-FRS-R rating scale and the questions that go into it. We use it at the multidisciplinary clinic that I go to, and it does play a part. For me, it's kind of like a scorekeeping, and it helps me stay focused on where I am and today.
And how about you, Stephanie? Let's turn to you. What are your thoughts on the scale?
So I'm also super familiar with it. I do use it, but my doctor and I really don't talk about my score all that much. The scale, in my opinion, tends to be very upper extremity heavy, which is where I'm most affected. And that can be very frustrating. For example, I can't reach up into cupboards or cook for myself. And with my wrist extensor weakness, being able to pick things up and opening tabs, etc., is really hard. Really, at this point, it seems like my upper extremities are affected much more than my lower extremities, although my walking is also not fantastic. I don't want to be bogged down by the numbers, knowing they pretty much only go down. So it's an important tool that we use, but it's something I prefer to let my doctor keep track of. Instead, I very much try to focus on positive things and set small, attainable goals for myself. For example, after I was first diagnosed in October, we had a Disney trip planned for that February. I was determined to walk the entire trip, and I did. And then we had a trip to Switzerland and London, and I knew I would need a wheelchair because walking around London was so not going to happen, but I said I wanted to walk for the first few days, and I did that too. So by setting these smaller, more attainable goals, it definitely helps me keep my mental health up.
It's so great to hear that you're able to do what you set out to do on those trips. It feels good to have a win. Having a positive outlook can be tough, but the idea of setting smaller goals for ourselves is super idea. Gives yourself a win.
Yeah, I can appreciate both perspectives on the scale, and I agree that setting smaller, more attainable goals for yourself is a great way to keep your mental health up. So we've learned some great things so far. Now let's move to our next topic. Stephanie, can you tell us more about what your treatment journey has looked like since you got your diagnosis?
Sure. So I got my devastating diagnosis on a Monday. They told me I could come into the ALS clinic on Wednesday. At the clinic, they started me on ribosol and wanted to see how I did on that. It wasn't until later that I was also given RADICAVA ORS, which is what I'm now. In addition to the ribosol, I went homework when it comes to your treatment options. The truth is there are only a few approved medications for ALS. Let's learn about them. That way, when it's time to talk to your doctor, you can go in ready and well-informed.
So doing your homework is always helpful, and especially when you're just starting out on this journey, as difficult as this one can be. Onto a new topic, the FDA has recognized RADICAVA ORS as a major contribution to patient care due to its oral route of administration. because it offers a less burdensome option versus intravenous administration. So what does that mean to you? Let's go to you, Deb.
For me, it meant a lot. When I first started treatment, the intravenous version was the only one. So it took an extra 6 to 8 weeks for me to start the RADICAVA because I had to have a port placed. After that, my husband was trained to administer the IV for me, and he was the one that did that administration. Once RADICAVA ORS was approved, it took less than 2 months for me to make the transition to the oral version. Because it's the same drug in just a different formulation, I was happy to make the switch. The oral formulation, which I can just take it at home, is so much more convenient.
Honestly, it's really interesting to hear the difference between RADICAVA ORS and IV since I've only ever experienced the oral version. How has switching to RADICAVA ORS, the oral version, been an improvement for you, Deb?
Well, for one thing, my civil engineer husband didn't get to put RN behind his name, but I really didn't like to sit still for an hour that I needed to sit still to receive the treatment. When I was first introduced to the RADICAVA ORS and was told I had to fast for 8 hours, I thought, are you kidding me? I don't go 8 minutes without having a snack. But then I realized that when you sleep, there's your 8 hours. RADICAVA ORS should be taken first thing in the morning.
That's a good point. Scheduling your dose for the morning takes care of that fasting part of dosing. So good solution. So let's talk a little bit more about dosing for a moment. As we just mentioned, RADICAVA ORS is an oral option that can fit much more easily into your routine. Thank you for explaining that, Deb. It's a 5 milliliter dose that can be taken orally or through a feeding tube. It can be stored at room temperature, which means you can take it at home or on the go. You'll need to shake RADICAVA ORS before taking it, but it doesn't require adding water or any additional mixing steps. And it contains sorbitol, which gives it a mildly sweet taste. So like Deb mentioned, there is fasting involved. RADICAVA ORS should be taken in the morning on an empty stomach after overnight fasting. And no food or drink should be consumed, except water, for 1 hour after taking it. You can refer to this table for more information about your diet and fasting. And remember, your doctor can help guide you on any dosing questions or concerns that you may have. So having said all of that, how does RADICAVA ORS fit into your daily routine? So Stephanie, where and when do you take it?
So one thing I do really like about the RADICAVA ORS is how easy it is for me to fit it into my daily routine. I use an app on my phone to help me keep up with my on and off days. It's 2 weeks on, 10 days out of 14, and then 2 weeks off. When it's time to take it, my husband will open the bottle for me and leave it on my bedside table, so it's ready first thing in the morning. I'll get up around 6:30, and my daughter likes to be involved in my routine. She'll come and she'll ask if I need any help. She likes to watch me draw the medication up into the syringe, and it's super easy to take. What about you, Deb? How does taking RADICAVA ORS fit into your day?
My husband is also a big help. He is much more of a morning person than I am, so the bottle and the syringe go on his side of the bed. I typically wake up to a little tap on the shoulder. He'll stick the syringe into my mouth, and I go back to sleep. He gets up, and then I wake up an hour or so later, and I'm ready to start my day. The coffee's ready then.
It's so wonderful that you have great family support. I love hearing that. I want to take a moment to talk about the Journey Mate Support Program. It's available to all RADICAVA ORS patients and, importantly, even those who are just considering taking RADICAVA ORS. So this program is here to supplement the resources that your doctor might give you. So whether you've just been diagnosed or maybe have been going through this for a while, the Journey Mate Support Program has dedicated specialists who can give you information about ALS and RADICAVA ORS, help answer questions about financial support and access, and provide personalized education and resources to you and your family throughout treatment. You can talk with a Journey Mate resource specialist by calling the number on the screen right now. And Stephanie, you have used this program, the Journey Mate Support Program, and how was that experience for you?
So honestly, it was so helpful when I first started taking RADICAVA. At one point, there was an issue with my insurance and pharmacy benefits. There was a little bit of panic, but we sorted it out and they got me on the copay assistance program. It's good to know that I have someone to answer any questions and provide support regardless of where I am in my journey.
Yeah, it's always really great to be able to call someone for support. So how about other resources? Where else have you gone for support since getting your ALS diagnosis, or have you found any community connections?
So finding a community group was really essential and important to me. You can always look at the ALS Association, but there are a lot of local support groups and group chats. I got involved with Her ALS Story, which has been a huge resource to talk to people who really get it. When I have had a rough day, I can go to them to vent, and they've all been where I am. Also, Her ALS Story, it's a group of women who are all diagnosed. It's supposed to be technically before the age of 35, but there's a little bit of wiggle room, a little bit. But I've also been involved in IAM ALS.
Excellent. It's great to be around people, as you said, who get it. So I understand that completely. So we're coming up to the end of our discussion, and I'd like to thank you both so much for sharing your stories with us today. Before I open the floor for questions from those who've joined us, do either of you have any advice for people who are maybe just starting their own ALS journey? Deb, let's start with you.
For me personally, and as Stephanie just mentioned, community is critically important. ALS can be an isolating disease. So I encourage people to find their community, reach out, be willing to share, be willing to talk about everything that you've gone through. Everything that I've gone through can be an answer to a question that someone else has. And so while you might not feel the need for the support, you can be a support for someone else just by being involved in the community. I have a foundation that I work with that does community outreach, puts together rallies for ALS. For last year's rally, I jumped out of an airplane. You may have noticed that strange harness I was wearing in the picture. Also, when you're first diagnosed, it's like drinking from a fire hose, so they say. There's so much information that's available and so many emotions that you're already dealing with that trying to just be cognizant of what's going on and what is real and what is not real, to focus on any one thing is a bit of a challenge. My advice would be to take a deep breath, take it one step at a time, and don't try to get all the information right away. And can I just add, don't believe everything that's on the internet.
I agree with you, Deb. It is very important to just breathe. The diagnosis is so scary, but I feel like if you take a breath and you just start to kind of get your ducks in a row, things will feel a lot more doable. I think the most helpful thing that I found is that I cannot give up hope. I feel like every day hands me something challenging, and I try to positive self-talk. Keyword there being try, doesn't always work. If I need help, then I will absolutely ask for help. sometimes. That's also a try. And I try to remember that there are so many people who are working on this disease around the clock. They are trying so hard to figure it out. So my advice would be to also stay involved with research too.
I love the fact that you mentioned the word hope. It's such a powerful word. So yeah, take a breath, take things one step at a time, try to stay positive, though we know that's not always going to be easy. And it's good to know it's been possible for both of you. So thank you so much, truly, for sharing your experiences and your wonderful advice with everyone today in the audience. You guys are awesome.
Thank you for having us. It's been quite an experience.
My goodness, yes, it's been absolutely wonderful talking with you both. So thank you.
Thank you. So let's now open the floor to some questions because we do have some. As a reminder, you can submit questions in the black box below, and please limit all questions to topics related to the personal experiences of Deb and Stephanie. We will not be able to answer any clinical or medical questions in this session. So I do have some questions. So what have you found to be the simplest, most important resource for someone who is newly diagnosed with ALS, who is researching treatment options? Either one of you.
I would say that the simplest resource is your doctor. Start there, ask what treatments he or she would believe would be available to you, and then do your research from there. The ALS Untangled website has answers to other kinds of questions, supplements, and stuff. I've looked on there for multiple things, kind of like when you hear someone that says, "But have you?" That's what I do.
Thank you.
Yeah, no. Honestly, I very much agree. I think your doctor is going to be absolutely the first go-to resource. I also think if anybody is curious about like clinical trials, I think it's clinicaltrials.gov, maybe, is a great resource just to look at clinical trials, though they can be very overwhelming. So I would also probably talk to your doctor about those. And also, I totally agree with Deb, right? ALS Untangled is really awesome for sorting out what supplements, or I would say quote unquote like alternative treatments, are worth, right, your time and money, and which ones are just, there's just not the research there.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So for our second question, how do you set goals for yourself regarding treatment and daily life? Great question.
You go first.
Oh gosh. Honestly, I feel like I look at where I'm at, look at where I was X amount of time before then, and then look at where I would like to be in about that time frame. So for example, right, I was diagnosed in October of 2023, and my Disney cruise, or my Disney trip, not cruise, just to the parks. We've been on cruises too. I have a small child. But so, and that was in February. So I figured 4 months, I was like, yeah, I could probably walk the amount that I need to walk at Disney in 4 months. So, because I knew 4 months before then I had had no problems with my legs. So I would say, yeah, honestly, and also keeping the time frame really reasonable. Like, I am not setting any goals for myself in the next like 5 years, because I have no idea where I'm going to be 5 years from now.
So one day at a time.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely. Stephanie, I was diagnosed in March of 2022, so I'm a little bit further in. And for my husband and I, we decided early on that 6 months out is the absolute furthest that we can even venture to set goals for. But day to day, for me, I look at the priorities that I live with and base my decisions on quality over quantity. And each time I'm faced with an opportunity, I judge it up against that and say, I'm going to live every day to the absolute fullest that I can do for as long as I can. And it sounds to me like that's exactly what you've been doing.
Yeah, and just jumping out of an airplane and, doing trapeze. You're both adventurous and you're just living the best life you can. And I appreciate that.
There was a very real reason for jumping out of an airplane. First, it was the second time I had jumped, so I didn't need to do it for a bucket list. But I did it because it's so important to me for people to see and understand that you don't have to go home and sit on the couch and wait to die, that you should continue to live your life and do what you can.
Love it. Live your life. Next question. Did the doctors who originally diagnosed you recommend you get a second opinion, or did you both get second opinions on your own?
Oh, I 100% got it on my own. Honestly, I've never been so, I would say, hopeful that it was a brain tumor or something terrible. But yeah, no, we totally went on our own. My husband and my father were both, they were furiously Googling, finding out what the best clinic would be on the East Coast for me to go to. So.
And how about you, Deb?
It was on my own as well. And when I told my doctor that I had the appointment for the second opinion, and he said, I'm so glad, I hope I'm wrong. So,
we did that. Yeah, we did it too. I think we had a second and even a third opinion. So I can appreciate that as well. Thank you. Yeah. And the last question that we have, we have a couple more. Keep coming in. So we have a question about navigating challenges with reimbursement denials. So can you talk about your experience with that and any patient support services that might help you to navigate it?
I have to say that the only time there was any hiccup with any of my medication, I called the director at my clinic, and the next day it was all taken care of.
Wow. Impressive.
So,
Yeah, I would say too, for me, the biggest hiccup in terms of actually getting started on my RADICAVA was, so apparently my insurance said they were going to switch pharmacy benefits as of January of that year, and I was supposed to start as of January of that year. So we ended up having to go through a whole situation where we were trying to figure out, right, who was actually going to cover it, who I was going to get the medication from, did it have to go through this specialty pharmacy or this specialty pharmacy? So I honestly, though, I feel like, yeah, my doctor's office was absolutely wonderful. And also I literally called up my insurance company too. And I was like, look, I said, what is happening? I said, what do I need to do to get this medication? So honestly, I feel like, I guess, just going to the source, right? And I feel like also when it comes to an ALS diagnosis, I've noticed that doctors' offices, at least in my experience, have been very, very willing to help. They will make the phone calls, they will do the legwork, whatever you need to make sure that you can get what you need.
That's so
Absolutely.
glad. I'm so glad to hear that. And you ladies are helping so many people. The questions are continuing to come in. So, how long since symptoms and diagnosis? How long have you been on RADICAVA?
So I've been on RADICAVA since January of this year. And yeah, because it's 2024, that's totally how time works. And then I was diagnosed in October of 2023. I started having symptoms in May of 2022.
Thank you. How about you, Deb?
I started the intravenous RADICAVA June of 2022 and then switched to the oral a couple of months later. I don't remember exactly when it was.
Okay. So, thank you for sharing your stories and the positivity. I'm sure you have some bad days, but your attitudes are inspiring. What are some helpful accommodations that you had to make at home that have made a difference? Anything change at home that's been helpful?
For me, honestly, we end up rearranging the refrigerator so that I could reach the stuff that I end up needing or grabbing most often for either me or my daughter. So it's at like about like, I don't know, like 90-degree arm reach level, maybe. And I will say lately, my husband has been basically getting her breakfast ready right before he leaves for work. So all I have to do is throw it in the microwave. Those have been honestly the biggest helps, I think, is just trying to take care of anything that I would have to do upper extremity wise.
Isn't it funny? We got a new refrigerator too. And
But it's funny.
I personally hate side-by-side refrigerators, but the new refrigerator is a side-by-side because there were shelves in both the freezer and the refrigerator that I could reach. And so that's why we did that. I'm blessed that my husband works remotely. And so he has a home office in our house. And so he's around and help is available most all the time.
Awesome. That's so good to hear. Questions keep continuing and the hearts are flowing. So everybody loves you. What was the hardest thing to deal with when you were first diagnosed? It's a tough question.
The hardest thing for me from day one until right this very moment is allowing myself permission to ask for help, allowing other people to help me, to acknowledging that there are things that I can't do anymore, and that and sitting in a chair watching my husband, who's an amazing cook dinner and wash dishes, is just very difficult.
Honestly, I agree. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Jody.
No, I was just going to say that, Deb, I'm sure you've taken care of a lot of people, so it's an honor for them to take care of you and to help you. So I just wanted to share that, and now to you, Stephanie.
Oh gosh, the question was what the hardest thing has been for me to deal with since my diagnosis. Gosh, honestly, I feel like not being able to take care of my daughter like I would like. That has been really hard, but we have a nanny that comes every day after school who's absolutely wonderful with her. And so that has been awesome. And also I would agree with Deb, right? Asking for help. I'm so glad to know that doesn't actually get any easier.
I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that answer. So thank you. How are you handling your own personal prognosis if you receive one from your doctor?
Honestly, I have literally totally ignored any prognosis numbers because as far as I'm concerned, I was like, number one, they don't have a crystal ball. They have no idea, right? Because it is such a crapshoot. And so in my opinion, I'm like, well, I was like, that's great that you guys might think that, but I'm also super stubborn. So
There you go.
It's serving you well. It's serving you well.
Well,
How about you, Deb?
Everybody gets the same prognosis. You have ALS, get your affairs in order, and statistically you have 2 to 5 years. Well, I've already made it past 2. I'm aiming for 5. And I just have to say this, I have complete faith in God, and I believe He numbers my days, not anybody here on earth.
Awesome. Thank you. We have a few more questions. What is the most important thing that family and care partners can do to be supportive? I know you shared some of those things, but what's the most important?
gosh.
Oh, a lot of hearts with this one.
I love, right, when people will just do, right? So don't ask me, right, what I need, or don't ask my husband what he needs help with, because honestly, I can tell you 10 times out of 10, it's going to take us longer to tell you what we need than it will be if you just do something, right? It doesn't matter what it is. Like if you just show up, right, and you look around the house, and you're like, look, I'm just going to pick up some toys. That's wonderful. Like honestly, I feel like people who just come in and do are the best.
The observant people who can come in and say, oh, your grass needs to be cut. I'm just going to do it. That's awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How about you, Deb?
There's not a thing I can add to that. Absolutely. That's because we've lived our whole life saying, no, we're good. We don't need any help. So if you ask me, that's what you're going to hear. Unfortunately.
And another question. So our next question is interesting. It's, do you exercise at all?
I do. I don't go to physical therapy every week anymore. I guess I should add that on December 20th of last year, so not quite a year ago, I had a total hip replacement as well. And so, but I have a routine of stretching and strengthening exercises for the limbs that aren't yet affected by ALS to just keep me moving.
And how about you, Steph?
So as a former orthopedic physical therapist,
Right.
I definitely, so I feel like I default to my PT brain a lot when it comes to deciding what exercise I'm going to do. I try to get to Pilates like twice a month. That unfortunately is getting harder for me to just get up, I feel like, and get motivated to go. But I feel like using the reformer has been really helpful, especially for my core strength. And so yeah, I try to stay reasonably active. I also do breathing exercises.
Excellent. Excellent. That's great. Thank you. And one last question. Are your doctors PCPs or ALS clinic doctors?
Mine are all ALS clinics. And I have a PCP. He just deals with me, what is it, like once a year?
Okay.
Yeah.
Just in case.
I'm older than Stephanie, so my PCP deals with me every 6 months. But 90% of everything goes through my ALS clinic.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. So there were a few questions. You guys did a great job, by the way. There were a few questions that were specific to RADICAVA data that we aren't able to answer in this particular forum. So we encourage you to reach out to the JourneyMate team at 855-457-6968, or you can go to radicava.com for more information. I want to thank you both. I want to wish you an early happy birthday, Deb. And I know Deb's going to sign off here for us, but I just want to thank you again. And I think everyone in the audience agrees with me that you're just such an inspiration, and we've learned so much from you today.
Well, I think our audience has asked absolutely amazing questions, and I do hope that Stephanie and I, and the perspectives that we shared today, were able to ease your minds, help you navigate the next steps of your ALS journey. I will say, stay in the moment. Do not future trip, but join us again. Thank you for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much, everyone. Take care.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Indication: RADICAVA ORS edaravone is indicated for the treatment of amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or ALS. Important safety information: do not receive RADICAVA ORS edaravone if you are allergic to edaravone or any of the ingredients in RADICAVA ORS. Before you take RADICAVA ORS, tell your healthcare provider about all of your medical conditions, including if you have asthma, are allergic to other medicines, are pregnant or plan to become pregnant. It is not known if RADICAVA ORS will harm your unborn baby. Are breastfeeding or plan to breastfeed. It is not known if RADICAVA ORS passes into your breast milk. You and your healthcare provider should decide if you will receive RADICAVA ORS or breastfeed. Tell your healthcare provider about all the medicines you take, including prescription and over-the-counter medicines, vitamins, and herbal supplements. What are the possible side effects of RADICAVA ORS? RADICAVA ORS may cause serious side effects, including hypersensitivity or allergic reactions, and sulfite allergic reactions. Hypersensitivity reactions have happened in people taking RADICAVA ORS and can happen after your medicine has been taken. RADICAVA ORS contains sodium bisulfite, a sulfite that may cause a type of allergic reaction that can be serious and life-threatening. Sodium bisulfite can also cause less severe asthma episodes in certain people. Sulfite sensitivity can happen more often in people who have asthma than in people who do not have asthma. Tell your healthcare provider right away, or go to the nearest emergency room if you have any of the following symptoms: hives, swelling of the lips, tongue, or face, fainting, breathing problems, wheezing, trouble swallowing, dizziness, itching, or an asthma attack in people with asthma. Your healthcare provider will monitor you during treatment to watch for signs and symptoms of all the serious side effects and allergic reactions. Common side effects reported include bruising or contusion, problems walking or gait disturbance, headache, and fatigue. These are not all the possible side effects of RADICAVA ORS. Call your doctor for medical advice about side effects. You may report side effects to FDA at 1-800-FDA-1088. You may also report side effects to www.fda.gov/medwatch or to Tanabe Pharma America Inc. at 1-888-292-0058. Please see the full prescribing information and patient information available at www.radicavaors.com.